Okay, we're live. Peace, peace. We are here once again. And we will be taking questions and calls. And we want to make sure everything is good, working from the internal. And everything will smooth. Everything will flow smooth. So actually, the number is there in the chat already. So we want someone to call that number. Wait, hold on. Give me 1 second to be able to accept the call as it comes in. Let me move this over here. Okay. That should be good. Okay. Everything is meditative. Everything is meditative. Finally got all this software stuff figured out, so it's a great relief. I am relieved. It's been almost 2 weeks. It's been almost 2 weeks of me really trying to get to this point. So I'm relieved. 'Cause now I can actually interact with you guys in way that's not causing a bunch of interference as we've been experiencing prior. So hopefully all of those issues are solved and we can flow smoothly. All right. Yeah, I think everything's good. Yo. Yeah. What are my thoughts on this whole situation? To be receptive, I don't really have any thoughts. How does breath work affect your magic? Breath work is the most important thing you can do, which is why here in the West, it's not even a thing that's mentioned at all, really. All of the sciences come from the East. There's no breathing exercises that originate in the West. That's Eastern, so it's not really a thing. And it's not going to ever be a thing unless you integrate it into your pantheon personally and you get the benefit for yourself. Most of the super secrets, I will call them super secrets. Why do I call them super secrets? Because they're hard to comprehend, because you can't use logic. Logic dominates here. In the West, logic dominates. So when you're told to turn your logical mind off, it's the hardest thing to do, honestly, which is why people have a hard time meditating, because we have completely forged our reality with our left brain. And when we are forced to tap into the right brain, it can get pretty chaotic, as it should, introducing you into the unknown. All right. How important is Lilith in your chart? I would say Lilith or we can make it a bigger conversation, just all of the asteroids, because it's a thing that some people use, some people don't. Starting with Lilith. Lilith is your raw sexuality. It's you in your most primitive state. It's basically if you could do whatever you wanted to do without consequence. That's essentially what Lilith shows you. Lilith shows you what you would do, what you would be without consequences. And through Lilith, through seeing from the eyes of Lilith, you can further advance yourself because it gives you some type of penetration into your unconscious thoughts. So you can view your reality from the perspective of non-consequence. And from that perspective of non-consequence, you can gain wisdom without having to actually go through these things and suffer a consequence. So it's basically, you get that bird's eye view of who you are in your most primitive state. And that's what Lilith introduces us to. Making it a bigger conversation about the asteroids, all asteroids introduce us to these concepts that are more detail orientated than the planets. You can say the asteroids are mini planets. So you have the major planets, then you have the mini planets. Just like you have the major chakras and you have the mini chakras. Right? So major planets, mini planets, major arcana, minor arcana, as above, so below. All right, that's how we break it down. So the reason I have this chart up here, so let me actually emphasize this chart. It's like, why do I have this chart? So let me actually get into the detail orientation of this chart, which is more so revolving around, because it, you may not understand this because these are my personal alignments. I have configured this chart with my personal configurations, which makes the most sense to me. And I see this is a question I would just ask. If you deal with surreal astrology, which version do you stick with for accuracy? When you're choosing between the astrology systems, it's never a matter of accuracy, because they're both accurate, but they're showing you different perspectives of the same image. So astrology points you towards the image in which you are attempting to observe, but they show you a different perspective of that same image. So from a Western perspective, which is more concerned with what's actually right in front of you, it's more concerned with matter, it's more concerned with the tangible, logical reality. So the tangible, logical aspects of astrology is viewed through the Western eyes, which is why most of us relate to the Western, because we came up in a reality where we are left-brained. So it's easier to relate to astrology through the left brain or the Western mind, because that's our culture or currency. With the Eastern, however, which is more creative, they're more so concerned with prediction and futuristic thought. They're more concerned with what you cannot see, which is why prediction is a thing. They'll say, I see what I see. I want to know what I don't see. I want to know the potential. I want to know the probability. So the Eastern mind or the creative mind is more concerned with probability. And when you concern yourself with probability, Eastern astrology is not going to tell you what's right in front of you, but it will tell you what's there and what is the currency that is unseen, which you can actually bring to life with your energy. So it's showing you the same thing, but it's giving you a different perspective. They are both useful for their specific purposes. If you just want to analyze what's going on right in front of you, you want detail-oriented answers without too much Eastern mystic information, then you have the Western perspective for that. It's not going to give you anything deep. You're not going deep with the Western. It's going to describe what's there, who a person is, what their attributes are, with great accuracy, you can say, depending on which house system you use, because you got the 𝕵𝖐𝖎𝖏 and you have 𝕘𝖏, depending on how detail oriented you want to get. Because if you look at my screen, you see I have 𝕘𝖏. Most people use 𝕵𝖐𝖎𝖏. That's the most popular. 𝕘𝖏 is the secondary. I use 𝕘𝖏 because I feel it's more accurate personally, because I compared the two, and 𝕘𝖏 is more accurate to me personally, but that is a personal preference because they both tell you what's going on just from a different perspective. I say 𝕘𝖏 is a little bit more spiritual or a little more psychological, versus the Western is just more surface, which is great if that's what you are attempting to extract from what you are observing. What's going on? And you just want a quick answer. You're not really trying to dig deep into it. You just want to know. Then you use the Western. When you're trying to uncover the secrets of any situation, then you have to take it to the East, right? So it depends on what you're trying to receive out of utilizing divination. So it's never a matter of accuracy. It's always a matter of what are you trying to receive, and using the proper tool to receive what you desire, because it is infinite. Astrology is infinite. As you see right before you, there's a lot of information here. I just wanted to place this in front of everybody just to show there's a lot of information. There's a lot of mathematics. There's a lot of symbols there. But this describes the entire universe. A lot, and I have it in real time so you can see everything happening. So we see it, just how fast things change. So just in these 10 minutes of recording, or however long it's been, we've seen a lot of change. You've seen all types of shifts and movements in these charts, or this particular chart. This is basically the chart for right now. So this isn't necessarily a specific chart. This is just the external alignments right now based on the Eastern 𝕘𝖏 alignments. Because again, you have the house systems, then you have the astrology system. So you have the Eastern astrology, Western astrology, then you have house system, 𝕵𝖐𝖎𝖏, 𝕘𝖏, so on and so forth. There's many house systems, but those are the main two, 𝕵𝖐𝖎𝖏 and 𝕘𝖏, then Eastern and Western. So my particular alignments are Eastern and 𝕘𝖏. So you can get Western 𝕘𝖏 or Eastern 𝕘𝖏, Western 𝕵𝖐𝖎𝖏 or Eastern 𝕵𝖐𝖎𝖏. So my particular alignments are Eastern 𝕘𝖏, so the most spiritual you can get. So when you are looking at these alignments right in front of you, they probably make no sense at all in terms of if you're trying to discover what's actually happening right in front of you. So it's probably not going to make any sense, because if we see right here, the sun is in 14 degrees Pisces. Now, depending on what you're trying to extract, that's not going to necessarily tell you the here and now, but it's telling you what's going on in the undercurrency or the undercurrent of reality. What do I mean? The sun 14 degrees Pisces. So we can interpret that as the sun in Pisces. So the sun is institutionalized. So the sun is in jail, right? The sun will be in Aries Western wise right now, just to compare the two. So the sun in Pisces is like the sun is in jail. You can say the sun is in jail because everybody's home right now. So you can say, okay, it makes sense from that perspective. But how would that make sense with the sun being in Aries, because again, right now the sun is in Aries, Western wise, but we really don't see that, right? But what is it that we do see? Because the sun is technically in Aries. That doesn't change if you're using Western alignments. So how does that change the interpretation? If we just want to utilize the sun, we don't have to even go too deep into it. Just to show the differences between the two and what you can extract from it. Just as an example. Now, when the sun is in Aries, so the sun would be 14 degrees, Aries, Western wise. Now, that would make sense from the perspective of now everyone has to redefine their self-image. If you look at it from that perspective, because Aries represents your self-image, if you look at it from that perspective, then you can say, okay, yes, everybody has to hit the reset button and redefine their self-image. That would be accurate from a Western perspective. So most people would be looking at it from that perspective. Okay, sun in Aries, let me start to redevelop my self-image. And so that's what people take it as. So that would be accurate. From the perspective of the sun is in Pisces, from the Eastern perspective, which is giving you more so what the potential is. Now we will look at it as if the sun is in prison right now, because Pisces rules over prisons and also hospitals. Those are the institutions that are getting hit the hardest right now, actually. So with the sun in Pisces will actually describe why those institutions are getting hit hard right now. Like I said, the jails, the prisons, like it's all institutions. So that's schools. So it's not just jails, it's also schools, all places where people go to get institutionalized. All of that has been shut down, right? So you can say the sun has been in Pisces, Eastern wise, which is why it's a great emphasis on the medical field right now. Everything, we have to make sure everybody has enough masks, and, it also represents the unconscious mind, which is why so many people are directly going into the hospital. It's a direct current into the hospital. So when the sun is in Pisces, there's a great chance for you to go into institutions that are ruled by Pisces, which is why so many people are just being stuffed into hospitals right now. So from the Eastern perspective, it more so is describing the energies more so than what we see. So you see, from the Western perspective, it's more about the individual. What are you going to do as an individual? Okay, I'm going to redevelop my self-image, which would be accurate. From the Eastern perspective, now we see, well, what's going on a collective level. Now we see the collective energy. So collectively, the sun is in Pisces. Individually, the sun is in Aries. So which is why I don't necessarily choose. So even though I'm looking at the East, I always have perspective of the West, because I always, okay, it's just a sign difference. So I'm always looking at it as a cusp energy, because we will always have these two energies of Aries and Pisces interacting at the same time. So you can actually utilize the water and the fire. The waters of Pisces and the fires of Aries, because Aries is a cardinal fire and Pisces is a mutable water. So a changeable water. Pisces represents the changeable tides. Aries represents the cardinal fires, the sparks of new desire. So you have the sparks of new desire with the changing tides. When these two energies blend together, what is the result? Now this takes us into alchemy and chemistry when we start to blend the elements together, which is a level of astrology where most people don't even use it. Most people are not even blending elements. They're not going that deep, because that's alchemy. That's introducing you to alchemy. Well, when you start to develop and synchronize the elements, taking it a step further, where you're just strictly looking at astrology for the elements. You're not concerned with the degrees or the planets. You're looking at it from a strictly elemental perspective. That's a whole different form. That's alchemical astrology. That's the older form of astrology. I'm not saying that it hasn't been done, but this is a older form. This is not the current way that astrology is used, but it is very useful for the advanced minds when you just need to activate the elemental magic, when you want to see the elemental currencies. But it takes time to understand what each chemical reaction does. You have to observe and study these things. So it takes time to get to the level of study where you know what every chemical reaction does. Because once you know what every chemical reaction does, you know what seeds to plant in your mind and outside of your mind. Because you already know what chemicals are in place. So you know how to add on to the chemicals and the necessary chemicals to produce the effect that you're trying to manifest, as opposed to taking away from the chemistry because you're not aware of the chemistry. So astrology makes you aware of the chemistry. Once you develop your chemistry mind, you become more comedic in your thinking. Now you are thinking about the elemental magic of things, right? Okay, so let's take it a step further. Let's apply the numerology, because we got 14 degrees, right? So we just talked about the sun in Pisces. So that's 1 degree of astrology. That's just 1 degree. Astrology in and of itself, that would be enough. We didn't even go into the house, the 11th house. You see, there's so much information in just that alone. We didn't even consider the house. We're still just on the planet and the zodiac. Now let's take into consideration the degrees. And again, most people don't take the degrees into consideration because they're not mathematicians. The degrees are not necessarily meaningful. If you're not a numerologist, then the numbers don't mean anything. So imagine if you are an astrologer and you don't even know that numbers mean anything. You have astrologers who do not incorporate numerology into their readings at all. Because again, it's a step further. It takes time to develop all of these sciences and synchronize them together, because they are all the same science, separated, and we are striving to synchronize them in their holistic aspects. So with all that being said, we got 14 degrees. 1 plus 4 is 5. We got 1 and 4. We got the sun and Uranus. Now we're strictly dealing with numerology. Let's take away the astrology. We have 1 layer, so we already have established either the sun in Pisces or the sun in Aries. We have that established. Let's take it a step further. Numerology. Now we incorporate the sun, Uranus, and Mercury. Now, so we can basically sun, Mercury, Uranus, if we want to put them in order. So we got sun, Mercury, Uranus, based off of the numerology alone. So the 1, the 4, the 5. 1 is the sun, 4 is Uranus, 5 is Mercury. So we have 3 planets now, just strictly based on the numerology. So how does that further advance what we have already figured out to be fact, based on just looking at the astrology? Because astrology will always be right and exact once you know how to properly align the aspects. What do I mean? The reason I said I have my own personal configurations is because you have to configure it the way that it makes sense to you, which takes time. All of the house systems are blueprints for us to further develop our own understanding. So eventually you get to a point where you personalize your alignments so that they make the most sense to you. You discover which lens you need to view astrology through. So let's just say, for example, there's 26 different house systems, which it may be, there's probably more than that. So let's just say there's 26 different house systems. You have to figure out which of those 26 that makes the most sense to you, because they're all accurate. But you got 26 different ways, because we are all different. We're all different. Just like you have 26 letters in the alphabet, A to Z. And we use these glyphs to all come up with names and define our reality. So with numerology, we are introduced to the sun, Mercury, and Uranus. Mercury and Uranus have a connection because Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury. So if Mercury is a logical mind, then Uranus will be the superconscious. So when the logical mind and the superconscious synchronize underneath the warmth of the sun, which is all about integration of the logical mind and the superconscious. When they integrate together, now you see it's more about psychology when we take it to numerology. So the sun in Pisces told us about the external. Now the numerology is telling us about the psychology, the internal. Just that simple. Let's incorporate the house. Now we see the sun is in the 11th house. The house of Aquarius, the house of technology. The house of technology. Is technology not dominant? Because you have to use it right now. You have to develop some type of remote hustle. Is that not where everybody's minds is? We got to learn how to do these online classes for the kids, so on and so forth. Everything is about technology. So that fully describes where we are. And if you are not in that frequency, then you have to get into the frequency. Everything is about the Aquarian knowledge. The 11th house is a house of Aquarius, the Aquarian knowledge, the age of Aquarius. You must access the Aquarian knowledge to bring forth the new reality. The new reality will be Aquarian based. So you have to get Aquarian minded. But who was the one that introduced everyone to the Aquarian information? I will not mention the person because I've always mentioned the person. But do your research and find who introduced us to the Aquarian information and study that being, because that's what the secrets are. You will find the secrets there if you are willing to study. All right. Okay. Okay. I'm looking at the comments now. Let's see, everybody. I'm not sure what Kaylee or Kali. I'm not sure what you're talking about. My malware data center is overloading. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I guess you're referencing the technology, like your technology is overwhelmed. And just look at me. Just look at what I've been experiencing the last couple days. This technology has been kicking my ass. You've seen it. Like, I left the videos up. You see that shit is getting cut off. I'm trying new things. It's been failing. I've been failing and showing you guys. I've been failing over and over and over. Fail after fail after fail after fail. Till I got it right. And now here we are. After I done failed about 17 times. I had to fail 17 times to get here. Right? So that's why the technology. So you see it even with me. Right? So we've all been making our adjustments because I had to learn a whole new way to present what I present. I literally had to develop a whole new style of presenting myself, and here we are. We see that we are in a whole nother vibration, and it's actually stabilized now. So I had the idea, but I had to figure out how to stabilize it, and that's the Aquarian information, right? Okay. Do you send a video if we get that work from you, that $100 joint? What should I expect? Yeah, definitely. You have a pre-recorded 80-minute reading. Yeah, so it's going to be pre-recorded. It's an 80-minute video, pre-recorded. You know what I mean? All you got to do is sit back, vibe up, put your headphones on, listen to the game. And I'm going to also send you a PDF. You get a PDF as well. So you get an 80-minute video. You just sit back, listen to it. Then I get you a PDF. And there you go. You put that work in. I can't even go live on my channel and try repeatedly with no luck. Again, y'all have seen it. Like, I've been experiencing hell with these live streams, and things have been getting cut off, but I had to ultimately fix what I was doing wrong. I could blame YouTube all day and night if I wanted to, but I took it upon myself to figure out what I was doing wrong instead of, all right, YouTube just wants to ban this information. Like, I could just stay on that shit. Like, all right, YouTube just don't want me saying this shit. But I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Let me make sure I'm right and exact with everything I'm projecting out. So once I configured everything I needed to configure, now here we are. I'm like, okay, well, I just need to solve my own shit. which is what I was saying yesterday. We just need to solve our own problems. We need to clear out our own karma. I had to clear out my own karma. Once I cleared out my own karma, now here we are. You know what I mean? So had I been passive and pessimistic about it, then it just would have been more karma added on, and nothing would be done, and we wouldn't be here right now. So just giving a live example of what it really takes to set these things in motion and make it happen. You are tribe of Judah. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because I know there's the 12 tribes, and the 12 tribes correspond to the 12 zodiac. I believe Judah is Leo. You know, that's how I'm looking at it. So I'm the tribe of Leo. So what does that mean, though? Like, you have to give me more than that. Like, what does that mean? What is the science behind being from the tribe of Judah, or any tribe? You know, feel free to leave the information there. Like, what does it mean to be a part of a tribe? Like, what? Because I'm not sure about it. But let's continue. So I'm just giving people, everyone, a perspective. You see how I'm just effortlessly breaking down the astrology, because it's internal now. Once you have internalized it, it just comes out of you effortlessly. And I'm just showing and proving that once you dig deep enough and you find out how to configure it for yourself. You have to configure it for yourself. I literally went through all of these systems that I spoke about. There's so many systems. I had to figure out for myself which one works the best. I done showed you guys all of the astrology books. I'm reading books like I'm literally digging, because I have to find the accuracy. I can't just do what everyone else is doing and just give you the mainstream perspective, because there's so many people already doing that. There's so many people already giving you the mainstream perspective. I have to come from the underworld. I have to give you the underworld perspective. I have to give you the power. I have to give you the original manifestation, because the only way for me to do that is to forge it for myself. I had to create an original product. I had to configure it for myself with my own understanding and present it in a way that makes sense, which is what we all have the capability of doing with the occult. The occult will refine you in all dimensions. You will become refined as you explore your own mysteries and secrets. So all I do is introduce you to your mysteries and your secrets. That's all. Was listening to your videos yesterday. You were talking about Resident Evil game. Wasn't into those type of games. You ever hear of Shadowrun? No, I've never heard about Shadowrun. But Resident Evil changed the game. The reason why Resident Evil changed the game, because that was the first game of its kind. It was the first horror game on PlayStation, basically. It was the first of its kind. That took everything to the next level. Video games wasn't even being built like that. That came out in the 90s. It was a portal to the underworld was open when that game was released. Everything is mathematically and scientifically released. Nothing is done by mistake. All releases, whether it's technology, whether it's to the smallest to the biggest release, is all done utilizing the occult. You're not going to become millionaire, billionaire, systemize your wealth. You're not going to be able to do all these things without occult knowledge. There's no other way to do it. You're not going to just get smart enough and figure out how to do this stuff. There's no smart level that you can reach. But you can go deep enough into yourself and pull out the secrets from within, which is what we have been doing since we've been on this planet. Regardless of whatever oppression that we've been up against, we have been pulling from within. Is this the first time that we've been robbed of our resources, or robbed in, like, this is what we do, what we have to find within ourselves in our unconscious mind, and endure as we always do, making the oppression the reverse, the opposite, and rising and becoming more powerful when you should have become weaker and died off. Only the occult will allow you to counterbalance the force that we're up against. So, 𝕿𝖚𝖐𝖎𝖓𝖌 was red versus blue lineage versus RNA. Okay, yeah, I'm sure the 90s, that 9 energy, that's the universal consciousness. It's a real alchemical number. Just the number 9. It's the number of alchemy. The number of, if alchemy was broken down to a number, it would be the number 9. Because I've worked with it. I remember changing my house vibration to a number 9, and those type of ideas start to dominate your mind. Video games like Diablo, I started playing games like Diablo again. These types of things, these alchemical thoughts start to dominate your mind, especially of a darker nature. Darker alchemical thoughts start to dominate your mind. I have the personal experience. Like, we have the opportunity to work with every dimension. Every dimension is at our will once we know how to activate it. Once we know how to activate it, everything is at our fingertips. Literally, you literally have all of the planets and the zodiac signs in the palm of your hand. That's the science of palmistry. The whole science of palmistry, the planets and the zodiacs in the palm of your hand. What are you going to do with it? All forms of divination just shows you all of the same symbols and glyphs. It's all about what are you going to do with it? How are you going to make it work for you? That's where the moon comes in, because the moon rules over magic. So we talked about the sun, and we ended talking about the moon, talking about the magical potential that we have right now. What is a magical potential? We talked about the sun. What is a magical potential? Well, let's look at the moon. For one, the moon is in 0 degrees Cancer. It's actually dignified. The moon is at its most powerful. Not its most powerful. One level below its most powerful. So the moon is powerful. Not the most powerful, but very powerful. One level below the most powerful. We'll just say it that way. We got 0 degrees. We know the 0 is Pluto. So the moon, or the lunar energy, or the magical energy, is manifesting through Pluto at this particular moment as we make this video, because obviously the moon changes degrees every 2 hours. So the moon is moving quickly. At the time of making this video, the moon is in 0 degrees Cancer. Cancer is ruler of the home. So the moon is in the home, but what is in the home? Pluto is in the home. So the magical potential is coming through Pluto, the lord of the underworld. So it's time to be more Plutonian, which I've been talking about forever anyway. Manifesting Plutonian magic in the home. What should you be doing in your home? Plutonian magic. There we are. The moon is in the 2nd house, the house of Taurus, the house of resources. Taurus is all about movable resources, money, the money house. The moon is in the money house, money magic. Plutonian money magic is where the magic should be directed. See, astrology just takes us directly to the answers. You know how long it would take to get to that answer? Trying to use non-occult means. You see how it takes us directly into what we should be doing? Right there, Plutonian money magic. If you direct your energy in that direction, you will be successful because the planets are supporting you. Specifically, the moon is supporting you in that direction currently. So yeah, for like the next 2 hours, you know, because it's like the moon's in 15 degrees. Well, 15 minutes, 30 seconds. So we see the seconds. So the 16 minutes, 30 seconds. So we know we have 30 minutes. So for the next 15 minutes, direct your energy in that direction and you will be successful. This is how we can apply astrology in real time. This is why I wanted to show you guys in real time. We can see what can be done in real time and study what's going on, and we can see the manifestations right before us. So take that jewel and build. And I'll see you next time. Peace.